Welcome to Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce Provincial Election Candidate Interview Series. Our guest today is John Koury, the Conservative Party BC candidate for Cowichan Valley. John is an entrepreneur and a business consultant with over 20 years of experience in senior management and has served 2 terms on North Cowichan Council where he chaired the Economic Development Committee. His platform focuses on economic growth, reducing government barriers, and supporting a free market economy. We're looking forward to learning more about his vision for the Cowichan Valley's future and local business prosperity. John, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Phil.
You bet. All right, John, to start with, we're going to talk about just understanding the importance of business. How do you see the role of business in driving economic growth, and what specific policies would you put forward to create a thriving business environment?
So, as long as I've been involved in the political process, I've been a champion for small business, medium-sized business, and our larger industrial businesses that we have here in North Cowichan and in the Cowichan Valley. And the importance of small business to create a vibrant community has always been top of mind. As the chair of the Economic Development Committee, back in hard financial times, we set a table for the Cowichan Valley to grow with our private sector, to invest in our community, as long as we set the land use planning and gave them the clarity they needed and the customer service levels they needed at Municipal Hall, so that businesses could come in with the clarity that they needed at a fair tax rate and be able to get their operations up and running and help grow our community alongside our public projects that we have and that we see now, but were started back then. So small business is the backbone of our community. We are going to reduce taxes for small business. We are going to reduce regulation for small business. We are going to unleash the power of entrepreneurship by providing incentives for them to invest in our communities. And we are going to provide incentives for municipalities to set those clear guidelines, particularly around zoning issues and permitting issues, so that we can get that private sector roaring again, get more homes built, get more commercial mixed use development happening, and provide incentives to get our industry up and running as well, particularly in forestry.
Okay. Let's go to the cost of doing business and regulations. So many small, medium-sized businesses are struggling with rising costs and regulatory pressures. What are you going to do to ease the tax and regulatory burden on these businesses? Are there any specific relief or incentive programs you'll put into place to help them stay competitive?
Well, certainly we have a very robust economic development platform for everything for First Nations, for the private sector community to reduce their taxes. As far as First Nations go, we want to have economic reconciliation so that everyone in the community can participate in any opportunities that will arise from working with First Nations on economic development reconciliation. With the private sector, we want to make sure that they have a fair shake with lower taxes and an ease on the regulations. The government has grown its operations by 30%, and right now government is outpacing the private sector, and we need to change that around. The private sector, government should grow at the pace of a growing private sector. That's what government services are there for. They're not to outpace the private sector, which is what's happening now. And that outpacing is raising property taxes, raising business taxes, and the regulations that have been put on, such as net zero policies and the step code on building, has added to the cost of housing, has added to the operations for businesses, and we need to go through and reduce those costs so that our small businesses have a fighting chance to survive.
Okay. One of the big issues
and thrive.
Absolutely. One of the big issues happening now is mental health, crime, and safety. Mental health and public safety are growing concerns for businesses, employees, and customers alike. How do you plan to work with law enforcement and community organizations to tackle mental health challenges and ensure the safety of businesses, their staff, and the public?
So, thank you, Phil. That's probably the number one issue on the minds of people in the Cowichan Valley. We've knocked on over 15,000 doors in the Cowichan Valley. We know firsthand that the biggest issue on their minds is what's happening to their community. They see what they see. They see a degradation of our community. They see they're not happy with the mental health and drug addiction problems that are accumulating on our streets. They want something done about it. They're not happy with the current government policy. They don't see it improving at all. So we need to work with we need to, first of all, we need to change the policy. We are getting rid of the safe supply. We are getting rid of the warehousing of that demographic and enabling them to continue on with their human suffering. Our approach is to create more spaces, both public and private, for detox, for rehabilitation, for recovery, opening up mental health facilities to help, because all problems aren't all the same. There's drug addiction, there's mental health, there's homelessness for a variety of reasons. So we can't just put everyone into the same pot. We need to deal with those issues individually. People try to make it sound like it's complicated. Experts make it sound like it's complicated, but we don't think it is complicated. We think we've got the human services professionals, and if we have the political will to treat this issue as a crisis, because it's affecting our communities, it's affecting businesses. Businesses are being fenced up. They're having to apply for an extra insurance to pay for the broken windows and the damage that's caused. And people aren't shopping in their stores because they're too inconvenienced or too afraid to shop in our local stores. So we need to change all that by changing the policy and focus on helping people that are suffering and going after the criminals. And no one ever talks about going after the criminals and the cartels and the gangs that are supplying the problems that we see manifesting on the streets. So we're going to fund our police properly. We're going to appoint judges that deal with the criminals in a way that supports the victims. And we are going to make sure that that we take a compassionate approach, including involuntary rehabilitation for some people, to get them the help they need. I'm a big advocate of repurposing the old hospital once they move into the new facility, and make that a place for service to help people get better, and we can create kind of we can create a model of success right here in Cowichan Valley if we did something like that.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about housing and staffing a bit. There's the new hospital on the way. Finding affordable housing and attracting skilled professionals has become an urgent issue. How's your government going to address the housing crunch to ensure local businesses and essential services like healthcare can hire and retain staff that they need?
Well, I'm a big champion on this, Phil. I've been advocating this for 10 years. When I was the chair of the Economic Development Committee, it was all about a construction boom. Mm-hmm. Our resource sector was not as strong as it once was, and we needed to find a way to grow our economy. And one of the things that we did is we approved an OCP. We went into local area planning. We were working on the University Village model. We were working on the local area plans for Chemainus, for Crofton, all over the Cowichan Valley. We were looking at local area planning to set the table for investment, for private investment to come along with our public sector hopes and aspirations, mm-hmm. For how we would like our community to grow. And so we need to continue on that. We need to build more homes, frankly. We can't have the bureaucratic overreach that we see now, the political interference that we see now, particularly at the local level, that has created a housing crisis, quite frankly, by rejecting or slow walking or outright denying quality home building and mixed-use commercial development in the Cowichan Valley. And for example, just down the highway here near the Bell McKinnon corridor, the local council, a progressive left council, rejected a multi-$100 million project that would have brought 200 or 300 homes, commercial mixed use, and a hotel right where it needs to be, across from the hospital, to serve as a place for all the services and residential needs to serve the new hospital. And we need much more of that. And now that we're in a crisis situation, there is a role for government to play to provide the incentives and make the proper investments for all kinds of housing. But we have to get back to normal. And normal is where we have clarity in our land use planning at the municipal level, and we are going to work with our municipalities and make sure that they are approving their processes in a timely manner. So for example, on zoning issues, we're saying to municipalities, get your zoning done within 6 months, or we will do it. Get your permitting done on the building in 3 months after the zoning's been done, or we will issue the permits. When it comes to housing in our communities, there's no reason why we have a housing crisis, and until we actually have the political will, we need to reduce the taxes. We need to cut the carbon tax, and cutting the carbon tax isn't the price you pay at the pump. The carbon tax affects distribution, manufacturing, transportation, which affects everything that we do in life, which has raised the cost of everything. So we need to reduce those taxes so that we can lower the cost of living for everybody and reduce the regulations that are getting in the way of home building. The net zero emissions mandate and the step code that's been applied here in North Cowichan is affecting our quality home builders in a dramatic way, where only the deep-pocketed developers are able to move forward. We need to get our smaller developers working, because first of all, they do a great job. The communities that we've knocked on, and like all of the single housing and duplex housing or mixed-use development that we see in the Cowichan Valley is gorgeous. We've knocked on all those doors, and we need much more of that. And there's no reason why we can't be doing that.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about transportation. So transportation is key to keeping our local economy moving. What's your stance on restoring rail service through the Island Rail Corridor? And how do you plan to invest in public transportation and infrastructure to benefit businesses and the residents of this region?
So I was probably one of the last riders of the Via Bud train. I remember I was with the Minister of Transport, and we were on a special tour with Via Rail. We ran from Victoria to the end of the line. It was quite a fascinating experience. We got to sit right in the cockpit. Okay. What do you call it at the front of the train? But we were there, and it was quite. In fact, we were chasing a bear down the track. The reality of the great. I've always said this. Okay, first of all, we need to preserve the rail bed. The greatest asset that we have when it comes to rail is the bed itself. Everybody knows that to put modern equipment on the rail, the whole line has to be replaced. The line has to be replaced, the bridges have to be replaced, the trestles have to be replaced, the road crossings have to be replaced. And so that's a big, big number. We're talking over $1 billion, probably. So to consider that kind of investment, and if we go back to the legacy of that line sealed the deal and brought Vancouver Island into the province of British Columbia. Okay, when John A. Macdonald was doing his deal way back in 1871, there was, the British Columbia was largely run by Hudson's Bay Company, and Vancouver Island was a colony. And when we were doing the negotiations at the time, it was, bring the line from Victoria to Courtenay, and we will take Vancouver Island into the province and make it all British Columbia. So it's fascinating history. But what was the purpose of the line? The purpose of the line was to grow our communities up and down the line. Okay, so Esquimalt to Nanaimo, from Esquimalt to Nanaimo, and all the communities in between and beyond, since to Courtenay. That rail line was crucial transportation link for goods and services to be transported and grow those communities to where they are today. If we were going to make those kinds of investments today, there needs to be an understanding with local governments and the citizens that are interested in it, that growth comes with a revitalized rail line. So there's a couple of things that I'm looking forward to. I know that there's private enterprise that's interested in using that rail line to move industrial goods up and down the line. I'm a proponent of that. I am not a proponent of burdening taxpayers with $1.5 billion if there's no outlook on how we can get some return on investment with the growth of our communities. Okay. And so I think it's going to be a long journey, but we need, most importantly, to preserve the bed itself. And we've got to keep that right of way open for that future development to take place and future investment to take place. If those stars can line up and we can get industry and communities working in the same direction with the view to grow their communities, if we're going to make those kinds of investments. But there's other transportation link investments that we need to consider too. It was just great to be able to fly on a MAX 8 out of the YCD, out of the Nanaimo International Airport. And if we can increase our investment and support the great work that they're doing at YCD under the former CAO of North Cowichan, Dave Devanna, is now the CEO of the airport. And I know he's got a successful track record in helping develop places like this visitor center, for example. That's how we need to grow our communities, and our transportation links are important to improve. And there's the capacity out there to do that.
Okay, great. All right, John, any last words for the business community?
Well, we have, I'm just so pleased with the reception we're getting at the door. People are excited for change. They want to see their communities become vibrant again. They want to see a turnaround, and they want to see small businesses grow in our core. They want to see industry revitalized, but they want to see their forest industry working again and moving again. And I've met with the stakeholders in the forestry industry, and they're on a cliff's edge right now. And if we can put in the right policies to reduce the time it takes for them to get the permitting they need and give them the clarity they need to make long-term investments in their milling, we can revitalize manufacturing, milling, mining, combining, refining. All of those processes can happen in British Columbia and right here in the Cowichan Valley. And if we support that industry, small business grows around it. Communities grow around it. And we will have, once again, the kinds of communities that we've been accustomed to up until the last, we've really seen a downturn in the last 5 to 7 years in this community. And we can turn that around, and that's what I hope to advocate for as your MLA in the Cowichan Valley.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you very much.
John Koury with the BC Conservatives.
Thanks, Bill.
Good. Make sure you vote on October 19th.
Thank you.